Okay, so this is a little video that I just felt like making because I thought it would be fun. I wanted to look at some of Morrowind's screenshots of its early development. Recently I'd watched the video Elder Scrolls Cut Content and Scrapped Ideas, I think is what it's called, by Snowy City, and he was showing some of the old pictures of Morrowind's early development, and even though I was aware of some of these screenshots and pictures already, he made me aware of even more of them that I didn't know about. And he brought up in the video, like, these are so weird, why don't we talk about these? And I was thinking, like, yeah, why don't we talk about these more? Because they're super weird and interesting and even kind of creepy. So I kind of wanted to go through with, like, a fine-tooth comb and just talk about each little thing in these old pictures. So I'm going in no particular order. I mean, I did organize them a little bit, but I just wanted to start with this picture of Shulky Ashton-Bobby, who actually is in the game as a woman. As you can see, he's a man right here. And there's a lot to talk about in this picture. First of all, the UI is a lot different than what we see in the final version of the game. We've got this, like, brown background. His name is on this, like, green bar. He says, "Greetings, pilgrim. I, Shulky Ashton-Bobby, have the finest wares in Nessus." So it looks like these words in red probably could have been traded out for other words depending on the merchant that you're talking to. Maybe this is a unique greeting for merchants in Nessus. But let's see. As you can see here, the mini-map is, like, very small. I don't know if you would have been able to adjust it. And on the map, we're represented by this big blue arrow. A lot of these textures to me seem like they could have been almost like placeholders. Like, we've got this weird, almost looks like a plate on the wall, but then it's down here as well. And then over here, we've got, like, different, I don't know if they're supposed to be, like, carvings on the wall. And it's weird. It's just like, what is this? And then what's also strange, the lantern back here, it looks different than the one we see in the game, right? It's got, like, it's almost got, like, a stone-looking texture on it. Like, it doesn't even look lit. And it's got this, like, little umbrella on the top of it. Okay, sorry, I had to interject really quick and just say that I was wrong about this. The lanterns with the Daedric writing on them actually do have this little umbrella thing on the top. And it's actually called a lantern tent, I think. Here we can see there's, like, a beetle shell that we do see in the game, or we see something like it in the final game, but it's got a different texture too. It's got more of a red texture. Shulky himself, his face does end up being in the game, or at least something very close to his face. And his armor as well looks really close to what we get in the final game. I think it's probably like a more rudimentary version, like the textures maybe look a little more blurry and some of the like there may be less polygons making up the armor here. It's kind of hard to tell. Also, I don't think we see this hair or what's ever going on. I don't know if he's got, like, earrings here, if it's, like, jewelry in his hair, but I don't think we see that in the final game. Same with these shelves. I don't know if these ever ended up in the final version of the game. Okay, back to the UI really quick. We've got our, instead of magic, okay, what's really interesting here, the colors for magic and fatigue are switched, and instead of magicka, it's called spell points. It looks like our character's name here is something like Zabi Vahas. And here's a little picture of our character. You can see that the way that she's standing is different than what we see in the final game. She's kind of got, like, her hip swinging out. And then if you look at the items in her inventory, they're definitely different than what we see in the final game. There's, like, a couple little, like, rings, it looks like. maybe amulets or something. There's a couple swords. This to me looks like maybe it's a bag of gold. There's a key. And she's not got any weapon in her hand, so it says hand to hand. And up here we've got the icons for the spell effects. I would really like if a mod could be made to somehow bring back this old looking UI to Morrowind, because I would definitely play with that. I think it would be really interesting. But we've got water walk selected, and as you can see is like a little person walking on the water there. The other one looks like a flame spell. There's a lot of books in the background. I think we're in Nisus, it tells us right here, and Shulky is still in Nisus, but almost looks like we're inside, but I think we're outside against the wall where the merchants are. As you look down here, you can see there's like dirt. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can talk. Oh yeah, this back here is strange. I don't know if this is some kind of like little Dwemer mechanism. Not really sure what that is. And also I can't make out what is on the picture over here. Like, what is this carving? This is obviously a face. But anyway, this is really interesting. I just wanted to start with this one because I think it's a popular one that some people have seen, and this is a character that does end up in the game even though they end up being a woman. And this looks it's this weird in-between state where it's kind of close to what we get in the final version of the game, but there's just like enough things different that it just gives you that weird feeling. Because the next one I'm going to look at is even way more removed from what we get in the final game. So, and these are all going to be in kind of the same style. These next ones I'm going to look at. These ones look a lot older. There's a really like creepy sort of vibe to these, where it's almost like it feels like something I wasn't supposed to see. Like, I'm trying to think how to explain it. Like, there's something really weird here where it's almost like I'm looking at an old like black and white footage, and I can just barely make out what's going on here. First of all, everything is pretty desaturated. I don't know if this is a picture of like a magazine. Sorry if you hear clicking in the background, by the way. But I'm not sure if this is like a screenshot. I think this might even be like a picture of a page or something. Like, I don't know where exactly this was taken from, but it's very low quality, as you can see, but you can still see that we're in Nisus. And I'm not sure who this person is, but as you can see, they've got like the same kind of pose as this guy has right here. So that makes me think that was like one of the first animations or poses that they kind of had, or maybe that was a pose that was specifically for merchants, being like, hey, look at my wares. Looks like there's a little box right here, like a small chest. I can't quite read what this says. Something ring? I'm not sure. And then we've got this like weird kind of orange tarp, but we got this like yellow awning. We've got 3 swords right here. The character themselves, I'm not sure if they're like supposed to be a man or a woman, but they've got this big weird hood on. It's like they've almost got like this big, like a big fur shawl with a hood. And then what's really interesting that I didn't notice until recently, I don't know if it's just like the quality of the image, but it looks like they only have 3 fingers. But it could just be the poor quality of the image. And something about their face just creeps me out so bad. It's like just barely the suggestion of a face. And yeah, just these images, there's more that I'm going to show you, but there's something so creepy about them. It's almost like if you had a dream about Morrowind, but like just things were different. Like, it's like almost what you recognize, but it's different in ways that just creep you out. I don't know if it was actually a game at this point, or if this was just more of a visual concept that they put together, but here's the next image. If this was in any way playable, like, I wish that I could play it, because it's just something so weird going on here. But as you can see, this image, it's also very desaturated. We're in Nisus by the, like, merchant, that kind of wall of the temple where the merchants are up against it. And looks like there's like a street lamp here, which we don't really see in the final game. I don't think there's street lamps. And then there's these orangey yellow tarps. One of them's got some kind of symbol on it. And yeah, just overall, what I really noticed about these is that the color scheme is like really gray, but then there's like kind of this yellow stuff that pops out. Also, in the last minimap here, which it looks different from this minimap, obviously. This one, I don't know what some of these symbols mean, but it says 11. I don't know if that's talking about the cell that we're in, but then right here it says 10. And if you look up here, it's really hard to make out, but I think it says steel daikatana. And up here, the character's name, I really cannot read this first part. It's like Mograd, Nogbad. I can't read it, but the second part looks like it says the bad. Obviously, it looks like this is our health, magic, fatigue. I'm almost... Is the magic this yellow one in the middle? I don't know. That's really strange. But anyway, moving on. Then we have this one. This one is also really interesting because it looks like it's an ordinator, but in Nisus, which we don't see ordinators in Nisus in the final game. I don't know if at this point he was supposed to be an ordinator, if this is just like how guards in general looked. Again, this might just be a visual concept, like a 3D visual concept, so not everything was figured out. But you'll notice as I go through a lot of these pictures of early development take place in Nisus, which is really interesting. It makes me think that that might have been one of the first cities that they kind of started making. There's the street lamp in the back, and there's the tables where the merchants are gathered. And what else? You know what's weird here is that, again, I can't really make this out. It looks like there's a little arrow here and maybe a heart. Can't really tell. The Ordinator's helmet actually looks really shiny, which is interesting. I don't know if the player was like fighting him, swords out. But again, you can see everything's just kind of got this gray scale, but then there's the yellow colors that really pop out, which this is a really interesting color scheme to me. And again, I would love to have played this version, or even just walked around if that was even possible. And we are still in Nisus, obviously. This time we're in 14, whatever that means, cell 14, I'm not really sure. Okay. I think that's just about it for that one. This one, we can see our character, and it's easier to read now. It says Steel Daikatana, and we're in cell 12. And the items that we have look like they're the same exact items that the character in this picture was holding. But we've got a different character. We've got like a dude. Looks like he's got a beard. He's got a shield with a spike on it. It looks like he's wearing like netch leather boots. And I was trying to read what this character's name was. It's really hard to make out, but looks like Vinor Saren or something. And then the information window is similar to that first picture I showed you in that, I forgot to mention this, but the 3 tabs that it has are like information service and persuasion. If we go back real quick, we can see information service and persuasion. But here, I really wish I could make out the text that's going on here, but I just can't really read this. But the overall dialogue box, it's all in green, which is interesting. And that looks like it might be the merchant we saw in the first picture of this style, but I'm not really sure. This actually might be a different one. It looks like there's only 2 swords. Let me think. Is there anything else I can talk about here? Probably not. We've got all of our tabs for like different inventory items. Actually, yeah, okay, I think that's it. Now this one is super interesting to me because at first I was like, what is that creature that they're riding on? And as I was looking at the kind of shape of this right here and this down here, it made me think like, oh, is this actually supposed to be a silt strider? Like maybe an early concept of a silt strider where they were smaller than they end up in the final game. Just something about the shape kind of makes me think it's a silt strider. We're in cell 09. And we're still in Nisus, and the character riding on the silt strider has this sort of hat. It sort of looks like, or helm, kind of like the Redoran Watchman's helm, I think it's called. I can't tell if it's a hat or a helm. It might be like more like the hat that the gondola, the people who give you the ride on the gondola, they wear a hat kind of shaped like this. And then again, everything's very gray except the silt strider, or whatever this is, whatever this creature is sort of a reddish color, and then the clothes the person is wearing are yellowish. That's pretty much all I can say about that one. And okay, this one, we're back at the sort of merchant's wall against the temple. We're in cell 13, we've got our sword out. And again, it's that same kind of looking person, or at least they've got the same hat or helm going on. This looks like, are they holding a spear? It's kind of what that looks like. Actually, that might just be part of the architecture. I really can't tell what's going on there, but it looks like we've got like lanterns up here. Got tables. There's just kind of just more of what we've already seen in cell 13. So I guess I'll just move on to the next one, but I just want to say, like, this entire vibe again is just super weird. It's like, it's just like that uncanny valley of like, it's something you know, but it's different enough that it creeps you out really bad. Okay, so this one, it looks like it's quite blurry. Got what looks like an ordinator type guard again. He's got that helmet, but he's got like a bit of a different ensemble. Looks like we have steel daikatana up here. It looks like I'm gonna be 100% honest, I'm recording this part of the video, it's like a completely different month now. So I can't remember all that I said last time, but I think I talked about these items. I think this player we saw before. But what's really interesting to me about this, by the way, we're still in Nisus. We're like up in the kind of cliff area of Nisus. Kind of, I don't know if I'm right about this, but I feel like it's kind of behind, it's near this town of Nisus somewhere, but like a little bit outside of it. And what's interesting is the guard is up here though, almost like, and we're like fighting the guard. It looks like he's got his sword out, we've got our sword out. We're in some sort of like confrontation with this guard. I don't have much to say about this one, I guess, other than I just wonder like exactly where we are here. Because it's so blurry. Like if I go back and look at a couple previous ones, looks like we're basically in the same spot. Like this little mini map thing kind of shows the same spot roughly, but it looks like we're up in the cliffs here. And yeah, I just, much like the other screenshots, I just kind of wish I could see this in action in like a video format. I'm not even sure if that was the case. Like maybe this was just maybe this was just a visual like kind of concept art and the guard wasn't moving or anything, but I would like to see if this was like we got in some sort of confrontation and where the guard attacks us, you know, we resist arrest and the guard attacks us. Anyway, moving on to the next one. This one is really weird because we are in, it says Merryweather Inn? Not quite sure. I know it says Merryweather. And yeah, we've got the little bag of gold here, like pretty much the same items, I believe. Is that the same exact items? Yeah, same exact items. But the interface looks different. It's like a different... in fact, there's all these like... They look like borders. Like they were thinking about what different borders to use maybe. We've got this one. And then there's just these kind of floating corners. Like they maybe this was like them trying to decide what kind of look they wanted in the UI, I think. But this one is so interesting. You can see like we are in some sort of inn, and there's like a fireplace in the background. And sorry if you can hear my chickens, by the way, they're being broody right now. But we've got this kind of dark stone floor. We've got this fireplace in the background. You can see the kind of stone, that part of the fireplace that is going up. I don't know what it's called. We've got some, you can see some of the wood architecture here. Again, I don't know enough about architecture to tell you what these are called, but basically this looks like part of the roof where like we're on the inside. This is, you know, the roof up here. We've got it looks also very like a typical kind of fantasy interior. There's nothing too strange about it, but the strangest part is just that we've got these like random floating kind of borders here, which really makes me think this was them looking at different borders and trying to decide what to do with them. But the picture's so blurry, it's just hard to tell what's even going on here. Also, this I think says level. I think says 63 out of 100. But yeah, that's about all I've got to say about that one. This border almost kind of looks like it's made out of plants. Same with this down here. It's really hard to tell what's even going on. And this is kind of like a weird dark volcanic rock texture. Anyway, on to the next one. So this one is this was really the first screenshot of early Morrowind concept that I ever saw, and this blew me away because we're in Vivek. It tells you that we're in Vivek, but it looks so different, right? It's like, I don't know if we're on the top of a canton. I think that's what's going on here, but there's no, because originally there was not going to be roofs on top. And I think either just due to some sort of design choice, like visual design choice, or maybe due to the fact that it would make it easier to run the game. They ended up putting a roof on them and having them be their own cells. But I know there's like mods that do remove that if you wanted to go with sort of the roofless plaza on top of the canton. Because I think that's what this is. I think this is like a plaza area. And you can see it's pretty close by. You can see the Ministry of Truth, Vivek's floating rock, and it's a little bit different looking. It's got like more stuff hanging off of it. I think I've seen a mod as well that kind of makes it look more like this, where it's more kind of stuff hanging off of it. Clearly there's an ordinator here, but he's got some different clothes on. There's the Imperial Guard, who has different armor on. Like, he's got like a more rust-colored armor, and if you look on his chest, there's the moth that is associated with the Empire for whatever reason. There's like a moth, like every fort is like named after a moth, and I can't remember in lore what the exact thing with the moths are, but there's somehow that they're like important to Imperial culture, I guess. I don't know. And then he's got like some sort of writing on his helmet up here, or maybe it's not writing, that looks kind of like writing. And this face I think is in game too. This is like, they might have modified it a little bit, but this face is I've seen on NPCs in game. This guy here is wearing like the chitin. Is that how you say that? The chitin... Or no, sorry, that's bone mold. Or is it chitin or bone mold? I'm sorry, I don't even remember. I think it's chitin. He's wearing the chitin cuirass and pauldrons. But something I always notice about this is these little like bags on the side on the belt. Those are still there, but they're more like unrefined here. Like, that's what you'll notice about a lot of these screenshots. It's like things have even kind of less polygons than they do in the final game. Like, these are more square. Got a steel longsword. Our encumbrance is 179 out of 240. Something else I find really interesting here, other than I already pointed out the ordinator is wearing different clothes, similar but different, but there's also this person in the background, well, all these people that are wearing robes, and they're these pretty simple robes. There's a robe, like a brown robe in game that looks pretty similar to this, but what's different that I really noticed is this robe. First of all, their ears are sticking out. They're an elf, and their ears are sticking out of the robe, which I think is really interesting. You don't see that in the final game. I guess like the robes don't have hoods up, so that's also why, but I'm trying to think if there is even a hood. I don't think there is, but it looks like in this early concept they had their hoods up and their ears are sticking out. And something else I noticed is that the robe is kind of dragging on the ground, which didn't end up being in the final game. Maybe because of clipping issues, or just they decided not to do that for some reason. Maybe just practical, like the practicality, you wouldn't want your robe dragging on the ground, it would get dirty, but I think it has a really interesting look, how it's kind of dragged to the ground there. It's really hard to see, but this rug I think is in the final game pretty much. This gate back here I find really interesting. See, because I think this is a plaza, and this would be like that door where you exit out from, but it's got a really more triangular shape, the door area. And the texture is weird. It almost I think it is supposed to be like clay, but it's just got these kind of stripes, but it almost looks like wood to me, which is so weird. And another thing that's very odd is that there's some cliff racers back here. I think cliff racers can come to Vivek, but I think these were put here just as kind of like to make the picture look more scenic, I guess. I don't really know a good word. Like, it looks like they were intentionally kind of put there to be like, ooh, look at these So again, I don't know if this is like a game, like a playable, if this is like even a playable version of the game, or if anybody was really like, it looks like they are walking and moving, but maybe it's a really bare bones like version of the game, and I would just love to know exactly what it was. I would love to see this in like an actual video format and see all of these. Like that would be like a dream come true for me if I could just see an actual clip of this as opposed to a screenshot. And like, are these people walking around? Can they say stuff? Like how finished was the game at this point? Because a lot of stuff looks similar to what we get in the final game, but it's again just different enough that it's almost kind of creepy. And then if you look up here, you can see we're playing Bendu again. I think we saw the name before, Bendu. Again, I'm recording this second part on like a whole different month, so I've forgotten some stuff. But I know that we see this name in multiple screenshots. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can say about this. We've got Fire Touch up here with the different icons for the spells. It's just really interesting how, and like, if you look at these NPCs, you can't see their faces. They're like hidden. It's just like dark behind the hood. You can't see anything there. This building with the little 3 windows on the side, I know that's in the final game. I think it looks a bit different here. Like, a lot of the textures just look a bit different. Also, this big thing, this big, like, building back here, I don't know what that's really supposed to be. That doesn't look very familiar to me. It almost looks like, it reminds me a little bit of the Dunmer Strongholds, but it's just different too. It's like, I don't know if that building got into the final version of the game. It's got these weird things on the side, and it almost looks like an entirely different Canton, but we're like inside a Canton, I thought. So is this like a smaller Canton? You know what might be going on here? It might just be that the depth of the picture is making it hard for me to tell what's inside what here. So I don't know, I can't really say, but there's just something really strange about the background here, and I'd love to be able to explore this, but again, I can't. So that's just about all I can say about that one. Anyway, moving on, we've got this one where and this one shows up actually in an Elder Scroll, like a really early version of ElderScrolls.com website, and they talk about the Gwars, and I think they spell Gwar like Gwar at the time instead of Guar, and they're talking about how the Gwar provides meat and hides and also milk, which I'm going to talk about. I don't know if this video will come out first or the video about food in Morrowind, but basically I talk about that in that video. And it's weird because you don't ever see Gwar milk in-game or Gwar meat. You see the hides. If you played Tamriel Rebuilt that adds the mainland, you do end up seeing that they added both of those things, so that feels good. Like we've got some, it feels like they should have been there from the beginning. But yeah, on that old website, they show this picture and they talk about the Gwar. The Gwar itself looks really similar to what we see in game, but again, just small differences. I don't know if he had all these little basket and like there's the Gwar that's carrying stuff on his back. I don't know if it's the exact same. I'd have to look at it. I think it's probably a bit different. Then if you look at the background here, the colors are real interesting. It looks like there's an ash storm going on. I don't know if we're supposed to be in like near Ald'ruhn or if we're Margan, maybe we're near there, but this is a lot like warmer colors than what we end up seeing in the game. It's either like gray ash storm or it's like red, but the colors are super interesting. Anyway, moving on from that, I find the way this guy is walking to be really interesting. I don't know if they like posed him like that and he's not really moving. Maybe they just kind of posed him. But it looks like he's covering his eyes like the character does in the final version of the game, but this walk is just not something you see like anybody do in the game, this particular walk. So I just found that interesting. I know I keep saying everything's interesting, but it is interesting to me because I love early game concepts and cut content and stuff like that. So, like, honestly, if I could sit down with Todd Howard or someone who worked on Morrowind, I would ask them, like, okay, was these versions of the game something that was actually playable in any way? Like, were things in motion at all? Or was this just kind of like you posed everything and then took the picture? I'm really curious about that. Actually, I was talking all this shit about how are we in Alderun or, Margan? It tells you right here we're in Nessus. So, my bad. We are in Nessus in this one. And again, Nessus is like this reoccurring, I think it must have been one of the first places that they created. Because it just keeps coming back to Nessus. We're almost always in Nessus or Vivek. But, yeah. We've got the steel longsword, same encumbrance. We're playing Bendu. Something, and I think this might have been a playable version of the game to some extent, just because we have these things indicating, like, okay, we have encumbrance, we have health, and something has made our health go down and our fatigue. I think that's just about all I can say about this. I don't know how I didn't catch we were in Nessus before. Sorry about that. Moving on. Okay, this one is so cool to me because, first of all, we're actually sitting in the gondola, which is not something you end up doing in the final version of the game. And so I really wonder if this was in the game and then got removed, or maybe they couldn't, like, implement it quite right. Maybe it had performance issues, but obviously there's mods that let you sit in the gondola and actually move around in the gondola. Or, be... You know what I'm trying to say. You can sit in the gondola and enjoy the gondola ride. There's some mods that let you do that. But obviously in the vanilla version of the game, you can't do that. You just buy the ride and then you're just there at the spot. So, and that might have also just been they didn't want to, like... They thought maybe it would be a waste of the player's time. But this is so cool how you're sitting in the gondola. The clothes look a bit different than what we see on them in the final version of the game. We're still playing Bendu. We've got full health though. And then something else I find real fascinating is this version of Vivek looks bigger. It's like the city, I think, was going to be even bigger before the final version of the game. Because, look, we've got, like, most cantons in Vivek, let me think about this. Most cantons in Vivek, they have, like, 2 levels, and I think the exception to that is the Foreign Quarter that has 3 levels. But if we look here, this one has maybe even more than 3 levels. 3 levels that we can see. There's no railing. This version of Vivek, also the waterfall comes out from, like, really far up, as opposed to in the final version the waterfalls are all down below. This one comes from, like, far up here, and it's a big waterfall. And then we've got windows here that we don't see in the final version. And, sorry, what was I gonna say? There's the little robed NPC again, by the way, up there. It's weird that we don't have railings anywhere. Maybe they just weren't added yet, or maybe just this early concept they weren't gonna be there. But something about this version of Vivek, it looks bigger and it looks more like a sort of more brutal architecture. Is that what you call that? Like brutalist architecture? It looks almost more dirty, more grimy to me. There's something real creepy about, like, we've got that fog that we have in the final versions of the game, but it seems really imposing right here. And just something about the colors is like, there's something so kind of dead and washed out about this, even though a lot of the colors are really saturated up close, but then we've got that ominous fog in the background, and the water is even kind of foggy looking, or kind of, this waterfall is kind of, it's like there's a mist surrounding us. I'm probably just looking into this too deeply, I don't know, but there's just something about this picture in particular, and a lot of the pictures, but this picture of Vivek, it really gives the sense of, like, that you're in this huge, like, metropolis that it's old, it's kind of dirty looking. It's still holding up, but it's just like this huge old city. And the final version of Vivek is quite big, but just it's not like this. And then off the top of my head, I don't know what this says. It looks like we're pretty close to the Ministry of Truth, but we see a cantons back here, I think. So I don't know. I can't say what canton this would have been. We've also got these signs back here, or maybe just it's kind of decoration, I don't know. We've got this big, oh, this I think is what I was, kind of like what I was seeing before. It's like this big triangular opening, but it looks like it's between the cantons. So it looks like maybe originally between the cantons was like not only bridges, but like this big kind of walls was in between them. I don't think I'm explaining things very well, but oh well. I think this might be an ordinator over here. Looks like this is a doorway you could go through to get to the other side of this big wall, maybe. But yeah, a lot of the textures are different, and I think that's part of why this looks so kind of grimy and like crumbling. It's like a lot of these textures look like the stone or the clay or whatever it is literally like crumbling. Gosh, is there anything else I can say? This whole video is just me like rambling on and on and on, but that's kind of what I wanted to do with it. So yeah, I'm not sure there's that much more I can say with this one, other than this looks like such a huge version of Vivek that probably, it just would have been really interesting to see this. I don't know if we're actually taking a real ride in the gondola or if this is posed like this, but he's got this, you know, paddle that he's using to move it, and it would have been, like, I'm imagining what the animations and stuff would have looked like, and when I look at all these screenshots, I just imagine what they would have looked like in motion, and it's really interesting to me. So anyway, moving on from that, I guess. There's this one. Now this looks so much closer to what we see in the final version of the game. By the way, we have Bendu again, but he's got a last name. He's Bendu Olo now. And he's got a silver longsword. The UI looks a bit different too. They've switched the magic and fatigue colors. And clearly we're located in All the Scar, it's called. And it looks much the same. It looks really pretty much how it does in the final version of the game, except that the lighting in here is a bit different. Like, we've got this weird, again, the colors and the lighting is just different in this version. Like, we've got this kind of greenish lighting going on in the background, but then in the forefront here it's got this kind of red lighting, like maybe there was a red lantern or something, I'm not quite sure. And then we've got this sign back here that I don't think is there in the final version. We've also got some NPCs that I don't really recognize, as opposed to guards walking around. There was a couple of Redoran guards walking around. I don't know if there's any NPCs out in this area besides the guards. I can't quite remember, but we've got like several NPCs walking around. I don't know these people. I've never seen these people. Maybe they're just random NPCs that were put here. But yeah, this one looks very similar to what we see in the final game. I guess I won't dwell on it too much. So anyway, this next one, we've got... this one looks really pretty. Like, the sky that they used in these early versions of the game actually looks really pretty to me. We're in Nisus again. I can tell just from looking that this is Nisus. And we've got this dark elf lady here. I don't know that this face is in the game in the final version. I can't quite recognize it. It might be and I just forgot about it, but I don't know that I've actually seen this face in the final version, which is really interesting if true. I'm like racking my brain, but I can't really remember it. But this hair is definitely in the final version with the little spikies at the top. And looks like she's wearing, you know, a boiled netch, cuirass or whatever it's called. The little goggles on it. She's only got one pauldron on, which is a thing in the game. You can just wear one pauldron if you want. Her shirt is really kind of blurry and nondescript. And if we zoom in, we've got a guar back here, like a pack guar, and if we zoom in, also we've got a netch up here. We zoom in, try and look at this person. It's another dark elf woman. It's really hard to see the details on her. She's wearing like pants. Okay, this is the interesting thing. It looks like she's wearing like netch leather pants or whatever, but the color was blue back then, I guess. Or maybe she's wearing the belt separate from the pants. It doesn't look like she's wearing any shirt. Which is interesting. But anyway, moving on. Got this one. Again, we're in Nisus. We're almost always in Nisus. Something I immediately notice is this woman wearing a white shirt that we don't see in the final version of the game at all. And oops, I didn't mean to do that. Oh gosh, I went way too far ahead. Anyway, sorry, I was looking at the NPCs here. So I think this is a woman, right? I mean, yeah, she's wearing like this white sort of vest thing that I don't think is in the final version of the game. I don't recognize the hair in the final version. Just the clothes are a bit different and like more rudimentary. Like this, same with this guy. He's got the same pants on as she does. I think that like netch leather pants, but they've changed them from like blue to brown, or maybe they had like variants. I'm just not really sure. It's also kind of hard to see what's going on with his hair. But he's got like a little beard there. The doors, I think I pointed this out on a different picture, but the doors have these like really thick boards kind of across the, like, it's a strange design for the doors, this early version of the doors. Oops, jeez. This guy looks quite recognizable in the netch leather arm. Yeah, see, it's almost like this belt that was on the netch leather greaves was like on other pants too. So yeah, not quite sure about that. Something I noticed is that the peach, there's the peach glass bowl or whatever, and then the yellow glass plate, and those look very much the same. And overall, this picture of Nisus, like, if you took the people out of it, it looks, and ignoring the doors, it looks pretty much like what we get in the final version of the game. Maybe the colors are a little more saturated. Okay. Moving on. Got another one in Nisus. Yup. Something I just noticed, I never noticed about this one before. This guy looks like he's only wearing underwear back here. I don't know if that's true. Maybe he's wearing like blue pants that matches his skin. But it kind of just looks like he's in his underwear. But anyway, you've got this guy. He's kind of wringing his hands together and looks like he's scheming almost. He looks like he's kind of scheming something. He's a merchant. He's selling some glassware, pottery. There's a big, like, basket of eggs over here, which we don't see in the final version, I don't think. We don't see this big basket of eggs. Can you tell I'm running out of stuff to talk about? This person wearing pretty recognizable chitin armor, the helmet and everything. It looks very much like the final version, but this is still a weird old version where the doors look different and stuff. Yeah, there's not, if you look back here, you can see the Tower of Arv's Drellin. I think it's the Tower of Arv's Drellin. And originally, in the concept art, I don't think they ever did this in the game, maybe, but they were gonna put like a big giant arm back here. I'm not sure why, but there's gonna be like a big giant arm, severed arm. And there's mods that add that, but we don't see it back here. Yeah. Let's see, is there anything else I can point out? What is this red thing? We've got a lot of these wares, though, that they're selling, like a lot of the objects and clutter is what we see in the final version. All this glass and pottery stuff we see in the final version. Okay, so then we have this one, which once again is in Nisus, and what I immediately notice is these things here. I think this is supposed to be like a tar pit or just something weird, like a big tar pit thing. And we've got these like I don't know if this is supposed to be bloat, the ingredient of bloat, but it's got a strange look. They almost look like sweet rolls from Skyrim to me. Another interesting thing is this building back here. I don't see any building like this in the final version. It's got a little like a watchtower sort of deal up here, and this really weird like signage. Does that actually say something? I don't know, but this whole thing is really weird to me. I don't know what this is. Back here we have the normal temple deal with the merchants out here in the front. Let me see if I can zoom on. There's another big basket of eggs. If I zoom in on these people, yeah, you can't really see them well, but mostly just this thing with these and this building. I don't think this building even exists in the final version. I think they just removed it, and I'm not quite sure what it's for. It's so interesting looking to me, though. Does anyone know what this says? Yeah, this is just so weird. Actually, if we look back here, I can't quite tell what's going on there. Again, I would just love to explore this and get a closer look at everything. Okay, so then we have this one. Again, the sky looks really beautiful to me. It might have just been a temporary sky, but there's something like really kind of magic about this sky that's in the early development. The texture on the tower actually looks pretty good to me. A really nice stone texture. We've got the Patguar, we've got the person in the chitin armor, and then we've got that woman, I think the same woman from earlier, who doesn't wear a shirt. And not much to say about this one. I do really like the look of this one, though. I think it has a really like kind of magical feeling with the night sky, and it's again, it's like more saturation than you really see in that final version of the game. It's really like everything's like dark blue, you know. Okay, moving on. Wait, let me look at the Guar real quick. Guar looks pretty similar. Alright, let's move on. So this is interesting because this is taking place in the construction set, like they're building the world. And we can see again that green kind of texture from earlier that was in that picture with the man and the Guar. I don't know if it's supposed to be like stone or moss or grass or what's going on here. It almost just looks like green kind of stone. When we look up here, it says The Elder Scrolls 3 construction set toddtest.esp. So this was a test that Todd was doing. We've got a Guar in here. The Guar, it's like it has a little animal icon for the Guar. Creatures is the type. And then we've got the buildings here, you know, the static items. Wilderness, wilderness, wilderness. Wait, and this kind of confirms what I was saying earlier, which is that I think Nisus and Vivek were like two of the very first made places, because if we look right here, we can see a couple cells for Nisus, and then Vivek right here, just one Vivek. So I really think that was like, those were like the two places that were made first. So that's really fascinating to me. There's that weird building again that I wasn't sure what it was. Almost looks like it has like a like a rug kind of. I don't know, it's very strange, but anyway, moving on. Here we have a more recognizable ordinator thing, but do they have these big... They don't have these big, I don't even know what to call them, kind of circular things over their pauldrons. They don't have that in the final game, but I think in the first couple screenshots we looked at, this is pretty much the look the Ordinator had, and they're looking more like what we get in the final game, but still some things are just off. And if we look down here, we can see that they have Balmora. Balmora was made to some extent down here. I don't know what this says up here. Maybe that also says Balmora? I can't really tell. It's covered, but we can see it looks like we got the heads here, and it looks like at the time they had only 4 heads and 3 hairs. We also have all this armor in here, so we can kind of look through this and we can see kind of what armor they had made. It looks like you could only scroll down a bit further, so there was a lot of stuff that they hadn't made yet, I think. And it looks like the lantern, they got that the correct texture on the lantern here though, at this point. This doesn't mean much to me, but down here we can see objects, 342, faces, 80,000, 45, lights, 7, selected objects, 1, faces, 0, lights, 0. Yeah, I can't glean much more information out of this, but the information that I could get from it is interesting. Like seeing that Balmora was made at this point, and then the lantern, they got the right texture on the lantern. So, moving on, we've got Nisus Cave... Wait, sorry, go back real quick. Okay, this one didn't have a title up there, but this one it says Nisus Cave Dwelling 3. And it looks in many ways similar to the caves we get in the final game, but also different. I don't know what this is, if this is like some kind of rug on the floor. I don't recognize. We've got like a little campfire area thing with this is in the final version, I think. And then these beds look different. They're more like white in the final version. They're like brown. We can see that it looks like they probably have a lot more items now, but there's not a ton I can say about this. Just a couple things are different. This one apparently is early concept, but to me, this is the point where it looks just like the game. Like this really doesn't look different than the final version to me. I think I'd have to look really closely to find anything different. Like maybe are these torches different? This just looks like the game to me. I don't know. Did the scamps look any different? This just looks like the final version of Morrowind to me. Now this one, it's pretty blurry, but you can see it's like they're attacking an Imperial Guard. And this one does look more saturated. Again, we've got that like more highly saturated feeling of the game. Other than that, it looks real similar to the final version. I don't know exactly where this is, but my guess would be that this is in Pelagiad or Pelagiad, however you say it. That just looks like what this is to me, but I can't really be sure. I guess this could also be Nisus. To me it looks like Pelagiad. Looks like the guard is saying something. His mouth is open. Hand looks different than what we see. I think it looks different. I can't tell if the armor is... Maybe the armor is a little bit different here. Just a little bit. But then we've got like a silver longsword. See, the thing is, even though this looks like Pelagiad to me, I don't recognize this tower here. So I'm not quite sure, but very fascinating how the most noticeable thing to me about this picture is like the really high saturation. Okay, so now we've got this one. Again, you can see, well now what I'm realizing is that guard from the picture in Vivek in the kind of rust-colored armor, maybe he was actually in this armor, which is supposed to be gold. I I think that might have been the case, but it looked really more like coppery color. But again, I can't really tell where this is, but the thing I just noticed the most is we've got this really high saturation, like the clouds, and it looks really cool, to be honest. Like the sky is like really blue, the clouds are really orange. The building behind is stone, but it's got this almost greenish color to it. And just a really, really interesting to see the game like this, but I don't have much to say other than that. I can't quite tell where this is. I think it might be in Ebonheart. Alright, moving on. We've just got another Ordinator here, that the older looking version of them that has these big things. Almost looking at this now, are these like eyes? It's almost what it looks like to me. And then he's got like this weird belt buckle. He's got this like sort of fake abdomen thing on his cuirass. Really interesting how similar it looks but different at the same time. And we're in Nisus. I can tell we're in Nisus by this little area up here. There's the mine back there, so yeah. That's that. See, this confirms my suspicion that that other screenshot was in Pelagiad, because this definitely is Pelagiad. I don't care what you say to me, this is Pelagiad. Like, this is 100% Pelagiad, so, yeah. Again, just very similar looking, but with that really high saturation. Especially, we've got some, like, grass poking out right here. I don't know if that even exists in the final version, if there's any. I know there's mods that add grass like that, like 3D grass, but I don't even know if that's anywhere in the final version. It looks like they might have removed that. Someone walking around back there, but I can't see much of what is going on with them. So that's actually the last picture that I have. There could be more that I don't know about, but these are all of the screenshots of early development that I have. So I hope that this video was interesting to some extent to somebody out there. I feel like it was entertaining for me to look at these and talk about them and really analyze them. But that's pretty much all it was just me rambling on and really over analyzing these early screenshots. And again, I just wish that there was something more than screenshots, like actual video clips, or even just, I wish I could like ask one of the developers more information about it, because I weirdly, like, I'm kind of obsessed with this kind of stuff, like just early development of games, and just thinking about what the game could have been, or what the game was in its infancy. So, this was really fun for me. Hope that somebody enjoyed it. Well, thanks for watching, I guess. Goodbye.